I want to go to my guest though. I am joined with the man himself, Laith Marouf. Laith, perfect timing today. Just to give you a bio, Laith Marouf is an award-winning multimedia producer and media policy law consultant focused on issues of liberation and decolonialization from indigenous nations to Arab peoples and building broadcasting capabilities for misrepresented and underrepresented communities around the world. You can find him on Free Palestine TV. Um, Welcome to the show, man. You doing okay today?
Yes, good to be with you, Jamal. Thanks for asking.
So this is a genocide. And, I would tell you, when you lose Piers Morgan, oh my God, you've lost the argument. And this is not a boost to Piers Morgan. He has spent a year and a half denying the fact that this is a genocide, denying the murder and the slaughter of humanity of all of these human beings that are being herded and corralled into a concentration camp. But even he this morning is like, this looks bad. No shit, Sherlock. Give me your take on this. And one last point. Like, there's been this narrative out that there's a split between Netanyahu and Trump, or Israel and the US. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is impossible without US support. Correct. Meaning, we're seeing all of these people being corralled, murdered, slaughtered, and sent to camps. They couldn't do this without US support, right?
Yeah, they definitely can't do this without US support. And remember, yesterday, the Israelis, or the day before, dropped 40 GBUs on the courtyard of the European hospital.
Yep.
And so this is the GBU delivery that Trump made a month ago to the Zionists. Now that they don't have any real military targets to hit with these GBUs, they are, as we are seeing right now, using them on tent cities, on courtyards of hospitals, on hospitals themselves, on schools, on homes, because that's the only targets they have. And this is, now broadcasted around the world. Look, I want to make sure everybody understands this. There is no return for Zionism from this moment that we have passed on October 7th. And the end of the Zionist colony is set in stone. There is no way there will exist a Zionist colony in the near future. We are already just in the countdown to its erasure from history. Okay. And with it will come down 600, if not 900 years of a spree of genocide around this planet by European colonialist powers that are now all ruled from Washington, D.C. And so, while I am 100% sure of this, I'm also sure that the Zionist and the empire ruled from DC will continue to commit mass genocide against the Palestinians, the Arab people in general, as long as they can. Okay? That doesn't mean they will succeed in the end, or they will exist at the end. But we have to be emotionally sure of understanding these things, so we don't lose sight either through this, mass genocide happening that is making some people desperate in their analysis, and or be like a fantastical, thinking that the Palestinians and the Arab resistance and the Muslim resistance somehow is going to defeat the empire easily. The most vicious empire in human history, at its most vicious moment, right? It was a huge mistake, I think, for some people at the beginnings of the Al-Aqsa flood, and the solidarity fronts from the resistance, that they didn't analyze this correctly, thinking that either the Zionists are going to stop the genocide somehow, or the West is going to stop this somehow because of media pressure or public pressure in those regions, and or somehow that the resistance is capable of direct military defeat of the empire and its forces. That's illogical. This is a liberation movement, a decolonization movement. This is a rebel alliance of the wretched of the earth, fighting the most vicious empire in human history. They will succeed, but the price will be very high. And now that the Zionists in the colony itself and in the imperial domains have realized that there is no coming back from this. There's no way to re-win the public in the West, let alone in the rest of the world, that they've lost because of conducting this genocide so publicly, that they will just because they realized it, become even more vicious. They are desperate. Even look at the propaganda that they're putting out. It's so disgusting. Even the Trump tour in the Gulf is even more humiliating for the whole history of talk about human rights and democracy and secularism and women's rights and gay rights. This is all being dumped in the garbage right now. Even more so with the tour of Trump, that it's supposed to look like it's a victory lap for the empire and the region.
Dig into that for me, because I have to be honest with you. I don't think there's a video of me predicting that they were going to win militarily, but I have to be honest with you. I am shocked. Guilty on some level, because my tax dollars are going to this, at the level of barbarity that is being displayed. If I would have never believed that they would have been able to murder 100, 200,000 people day after day after day for 2 years. This is not, as I keep telling people, this is different than a war against Ukraine. This is a war on a civilian population where 80% of the people being killed, according to Israel's numbers, are civilians, 2/3 of which are just women and children. And this is not, the cow hidden behind some fence. We're watching it day in and day out on social media. You can see it with your own eyes. You can hear the screams with your own eyes. You can see people putting their last thing saying, "I will probably die tomorrow," on social media. That is an alternate reality. You know what I mean? Like, from my conception of what I believe the world would accept. Here we are, though. Here we are. What do you mean that the Zionist colony has effectively, in doing this, there is no way back? Because I agree with you, there is no way back from this. But how does this destroy? Dig into that for me. The Zionist occupation, settler colonial state of Israel.
There is no going back, because the whole, Zionist colony existence rested on two things in the Western powers and their populations. One is the guilt about the Holocaust, right? And that is all gone right now. It's gone. They've conducted a Holocaust. They are conducting a Holocaust. Those that are requesting compassion for the history 80 years ago of a Holocaust being conducted against the Jewish populations in Europe. So that's gone. The other thing is this idea that somehow the Zionist colonists are indigenous to this land, right? And that they are a at the same time, simultaneously as being indigenous to this land, that they are the epitome of Western civilization, human rights, women's rights, ecology, culture, all of that, and the embodiment of this fantastical Judeo-Christian civilization, right? So this contradiction right now is, set bare for everybody. On the one hand, that everybody knows that they're not indigenous to this land. On the other, now everybody knows that there is no such thing as, civilization, period, in the West. There's only barbarity. And the conduction of both this genocide in Gaza, the mass destruction of Lebanon, the outright fascist takeover of Syria and conduction of genocide there in the name of Western civilization against the Christians, the Alawites, the Shias, and so forth. The mass death in Yemen, okay, and destruction. So there's no way to bank on any of the propaganda that was built up for 80 somewhat years since the end of World War II in both the global consciousness. There's no way they can recapture that idea, nor within their own populations in the West that are now either choosing to become barbaric, as we see with the rise of the ultra-fascist, open fascist in Europe, in North America, in Australia, New Zealand, all of that. Those ultra-fascists that are saying we need to be proud of our colonial past. It's great to have Columbus, who mass raped and cannibalized the Arawak peoples of Hispaniola, what we call Cuba, right? That we need to re-glorify British colonial eras and imperialism, French, German, whatever it is, right? So this is what is now done. And finally, I would say one last thing, is that with this normalization of mass genocide of peoples in the greater Syria area specifically, in such open ways, right, is going to make the attacks by the resistance over the last 80 years, including October 7th, including the mass suicide bombings that happened during the Second Intifada, whatever is going to come next is going to make every kind of resistance before it look like child's play. It is now illegal on a global scale and normalized to bombard hospitals, churches, mosques, markets, tents of refugees, and so forth. It will be a normal response from the indigenous peoples that are suffering under these conditions to target similar targets in the West and inside the Zionist colony. We will see in the next months, as this continues, and it will continue, this genocide, that there will be such attacks happening, and there will be no one coming to cry when a synagogue is blown up in Paris and or in New York, or a Jewish school in Toronto is blown up, okay? I'm not telling you that this is what I want. I'm telling you that this is the normal course of how things are going to happen. And the more isolated the indigenous people are in Greater Syria, in Palestine, in Lebanon, in terms of their support by military power from outside, as now we see how Gaza is mainly left alone, save for the support of the Yemenis, how Lebanon is left alone to now fend for itself while the wild hyenas of ISIS are on the door and the wild hyenas of the Zionists are on the other door, then we should expect that this desperation and this psychological reality that the West is forcing us into will lead to animalistic behavior in the same category as the animalistic behavior that the West has been conducting over the last 20 months.
I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and I pointed out, I said, look, Hamas is what Israel made them, right? Like you can't treat people in a certain way and then expect those people to be loving-liked. They're responding in kind. When you see them make this argument that it was okay to kill 70 people and blow up an apartment building to get one guy, okay, that is the argument that you've made, right? That's the standard that you've set. And so if somebody blows up something, kills 50 Israelis to get one guy, okay, then you've set that argument when your actions.